Have you ever been in a normal conversation, like in a meeting or some social event, or even texting with friends in a group chat, and everyone else seems to be relaxed and chatting easily, meanwhile you are tense and on guard, like you're bracing for something bad to happen? For a long time, I thought there was something really wrong with me because I couldn't seem to handle even just so simple social interactions. But then I realized and understood more about why this happens. For some of us, small talk never feels small. I had this at work a lot, whether it was in person or on Zoom. It was usually before a meeting would begin, when people would be asking about each other's weekends, and people would be cracking jokes. Meanwhile, I was scanning for threats. I was hyper aware of everything going on. I would be monitoring everyone's tone. I would be looking at everyone's reactions, observing everything everyone said, including myself. And somehow a simple conversation would feel like something I had to survive. There was a fear of being awkward or uncool, but underneath that there was a deeper fear. And it was just a vague sense of something bad that always felt close by. And I didn't know how to stop feeling that way. I just had this sense that if I was blending in and acting like everyone else, that would protect me. But the problem was, I could never really blend in and act like everyone else. I've known people who said they hate small talk, but then the minute they get into a situation where there's small talk happening, they just seem to do so well at it. They truly seem happy and engaged. I always have felt like there's this manual for how to do things like small talk with other people that I just never got. I really believe that for some of us, small talk has never felt small. Because when we were growing up, the kinds of situations where small talk happens, like family gatherings or being around adults or older siblings, those were not safe places for us. And as small children, we were always monitoring everyone for our survival. And for me, I have a personal history with all of this. From a very young age, my nervous system got trained to be wary of the kinds of situations where small talk happens. And it was trying to protect me. And it probably did. Because as a young child, I wasn't independent yet. I wasn't mature. I was probably helpless in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, as an adult, all of that childhood training, kept playing out. So for what other people would be an average, neutral moment, like a conversation, would be a heightened nervous system state for me. And when the nervous system believes there might be danger, it shifts into protection mode. In social situations, it can feel like our thinking brain goes completely offline. We lose access to the words we want to say. We can't be playful, and we can't relax. All of our energy goes onto scanning for shifts in people's tone, for any sign of rejection or subtle criticism, or any kind of social danger. Our fight or flight is on a hair trigger. Or we just slip into the freeze state and we feel like we're watching everything from a few feet away from ourselves. We feel withdrawn and shut down. If you've ever had that feeling like you're watching everything from over your own shoulder or through the wrong end of a telescope, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. What can be incredibly frustrating is that we feel like we're caught in a bind. If we stay silent, we worry we'll be seen as weird and antisocial. But if we engage, then we have to keep up with the conversation. And that can be nearly impossible when our nervous system state is going haywire. You know, we'll think of something witty to say minutes after the whole conversation has already moved on. Or we'll try to jump in too soon before our thoughts are fully formed. And people will just sort of move on with the conversation because they don't know what to make of what we said. So we feel like we can't win. When you grew up needing to get social interactions exactly right, then every conversation feels like a test instead of connection. I see this a lot with people who have complex trauma, where they'll come back from some social event and they won't say, "Oh, I had a good time." They'll say, "I did okay," or "I didn't do very well." They're not judging the experience based on how it made them feel. They're judging it based on how well they think they performed. And this happens when we feel like social interactions are so high stakes. Like there's something that we have to pass, not something that we just get to experience. And all of this stuff just makes those conversations that much harder. Just to be present and connect with someone. And the fear through all of this can be intense. It's a big part of why we feel so drained after going to a social event or being in meetings all day. It's not just feeling drained because we're introverts. It's because our system was on high alert and burned so much energy. This is one of the reasons why sharing your voice can feel so difficult. You know, if normal conversations feel unsafe, then putting your work out into the world, doing things in public, can be really, really challenging. You know, for most of my life, I thought that there was something fundamentally wrong with me, that I was socially broken. But what I've come to understand is that my nervous system was actually just trying to protect me. And once you really start to understand that, you can begin to shape your life in ways that support your nervous system instead of fight against it. The more I've worked with my nervous system, the more space I've created within myself. I still don't love small talk, but I've also learned that I don't have to force myself to interact the way everyone else does. I can give myself permission to find ways that are more supportive for my nervous system. I can let myself be quiet without feeling the pressure to participate every second. I can wait until I actually have something I want to say. And I can find situations that are more supportive for my nervous system, like having a one-on-one chat off to the side of a bigger group conversation. So if social situations feel unsafe to you, please know that there's nothing wrong with you. You just have a nervous system that learned to be careful around other people. And with a little patience and a little understanding and the right environments, you can learn to build a life that you love, that supports your nervous system. I'm talking about the fears that come up in these sort of normal conversations, because it's one of the areas that people with complex trauma tend to struggle with. And when we feel called to do meaningful work and share our voice with the world, depending on what we're working on, we may need to engage more with other people. And these kinds of situations where we need to have conversations come up more often. It's one of the areas I cover in my trauma-informed coaching practice, where I help sensitive creators move forward with sharing their voice, but in a way that does not abandon their nervous system. So I'm curious for you, what are the social situations that make you feel the most unsafe? Is it dating or at work or just going out with friends? I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. And maybe the most important thing to remember is that you don't have to be fully healed to begin building a life that you'll love. By the way, I am Isaac, and this channel is Deep by Design. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, then welcome back. I'm really glad you're here. Until the next video, be kind to yourself and take good care.